The year was 1906. San Francisco, a bustling metropolis on the edge of the American West, was about to face its greatest challenge. In the pre-dawn hours of April 18th, a cataclysmic earthquake struck. It forever changed the face of the city and left an indelible mark on the nation's history. This is the story of the Great San Francisco Earthquake and Fire, a tale of devastation, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of a city reborn. At precisely 5:12 a.m., the Earth roared to life. A massive earthquake, estimated at a magnitude of 7.9, ripped through the San Andreas Fault. Buildings swayed violently, walls crumbled, and streets buckled under the immense force. In those few heart-stopping moments, the bustling city of San Francisco was transformed into a scene of chaos and destruction. The earthquake was not a single, isolated event, but rather a series of violent tremors. The main shock, lasting almost a minute, was the most devastating. It was followed by a series of aftershocks that continued to shake the city for days. These aftershocks, though less powerful than the initial quake, hampered rescue efforts and added to the terror and confusion. As the earth shook, people were thrown from their beds, their homes collapsing around them. Streets were instantly filled with debris, making escape treacherous. The air grew thick with dust and the smell of gas from ruptured lines, creating a suffocating and disorienting haze. Panic gripped the city. Fires, sparked by overturned stoves and broken gas lamps, quickly spread through the rubble. The city's fire department, already overwhelmed by the scale of the disaster, was further crippled when the earthquake destroyed their headquarters and most of their equipment. As the sun rose over the shattered city, a new and even more terrifying threat emerged: fire. The fires, fueled by the debris of the earthquake and aided by strong winds, quickly grew into an inferno. With the water mains destroyed, firefighters were helpless. Desperate citizens resorted to using buckets and even wine from saloons, but their efforts were futile. Entire city blocks were engulfed in flames. The firestorm raged for 3 days and nights. People fled their homes with only the clothes on their backs, many forced to abandon their possessions. The fires spared no one, leaving smouldering ruins and shattered lives. By the third day, the firestorm had consumed over 4 square miles of the city, leaving an estimated 250,000 people homeless. The Great San Francisco Earthquake and Fire etched its place in history as one of the worst natural disasters in the United States. Amidst the chaos and destruction, stories of incredible human resilience and heartbreaking loss emerged. There was the young girl who, separated from her family, bravely led a group of children to safety. There was the doctor who worked tirelessly for days, tending to the injured in a makeshift hospital set up in a park. One particularly poignant story is that of Enrico Caruso, the world-renowned opera singer. He was staying at the Palace Hotel when the earthquake struck. Caruso, shaken but unharmed, escaped the collapsing building and later recounted the experience in vivid detail, describing the city as a sea of flames. But for every tale of survival, there were countless stories of loss. Families were torn apart, homes were destroyed, and dreams were shattered. The official death toll from the earthquake and fire was estimated at over 3,000, but many believe the true number was much higher, as many victims were never found. The aftermath of the disaster saw an outpouring of support from across the nation and around the world. The days and weeks following the earthquake and fire were a time of immense hardship for the survivors. Hundreds of thousands were left homeless, forced to seek shelter in makeshift camps scattered throughout the city and surrounding areas. Food, water, and medical supplies were in short supply, and the threat of disease loomed large. The city's infrastructure was crippled. Streets were impassable, utilities were out of commission, and communication lines were down. The task of rebuilding seemed insurmountable, yet amidst the devastation, the spirit of San Francisco refused to be broken. The survivors, though reeling from the trauma of the disaster, displayed remarkable resilience. Neighbors helped neighbors. Strangers shared what little food and water they had. A spirit of community and shared purpose emerged from the ashes. The rebuilding of San Francisco had begun. Rebuilding San Francisco was a monumental task. The city lay in ruins, its infrastructure shattered. But the people of San Francisco, known for their grit and determination, were not deterred. They rolled up their sleeves and got to work, determined to rebuild their city into something stronger and more resilient. The initial focus was on clearing the debris and providing shelter for the homeless. Tent cities, erected in the aftermath of the disaster, gave way to more permanent housing projects. Streets were cleared and essential services were gradually restored. The rebuilding effort presented an opportunity to modernize San Francisco. City planners, architects and engineers worked together to create a safer, more functional city. New building codes were implemented, stricter zoning laws were enacted, and a modern sewer system was installed. Through it all, the people of San Francisco persevered, their collective determination fueled by a shared vision of a brighter future. From the ashes of the 1906 disaster, a new San Francisco emerged. The city's rebuilt infrastructure was stronger and more modern. New architectural styles, incorporating lessons learned from the earthquake, graced the cityscape. The disaster, though tragic, had spurred a period of innovation and growth. The city's spirit, tested but not broken, shone brighter than ever. The shared experience of the earthquake and fire had forged a stronger sense of community among San Franciscans. They had faced their greatest challenge and emerged from the ordeal more united and resilient. The rebuilding of San Francisco was not merely a physical transformation, but also a cultural and social one. The disaster challenged existing social norms and led to a more inclusive and progressive city. The Great San Francisco Earthquake and Fire, though a tragedy of immense proportions, also served as a catalyst for positive change. Section 8. Lessons learned, legacies forged. The 1906 earthquake and fire was a watershed moment in the history of disaster preparedness and urban planning. The lessons learned from the disaster had a profound impact on building codes, emergency response systems and urban design, not just in San Francisco, but across the nation and around the world. One of the most significant legacies of the 1906 disaster was the development of more stringent building codes. The earthquake had exposed the inadequacy of existing building practices, highlighting the need for structures that could withstand seismic activity. New building codes, incorporating innovative engineering techniques and materials, were adopted to ensure the structural integrity of future construction. The disaster also underscored the importance of a coordinated and effective emergency response system. The lessons learned from San Francisco's experience paved the way for the development of modern disaster preparedness and response protocols. Before 1906, building codes in San Francisco, like in many cities, were often lax or poorly enforced. The earthquake exposed the dangers of this approach, as buildings constructed with inadequate materials or without proper structural support crumbled under the force of the tremors. The firestorm that followed further highlighted the need for fire-resistant building materials and adequate fire breaks. The devastation caused by the earthquake and fire prompted a complete overhaul of San Francisco's building codes. New codes mandated the use of reinforced concrete and steel framing, materials that offered greater resistance to both earthquakes and fires. Building heights were restricted, and stricter fire safety regulations were put in place, including requirements for fire escapes and sprinkler systems. Other cities across the United States and around the world took note of the lessons learned from the 1906 disaster and adopted similar building codes to improve the safety and resilience of their own structures. The 1906 earthquake and fire marked a turning point in the development of modern building codes and their role in mitigating the impact of natural disasters. Section 10. The birth of earthquake science. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake also played a pivotal role in the advancement of earthquake science. Before 1906, our understanding of earthquakes was limited. The San Francisco earthquake, with its devastating impact and the wealth of data it generated, spurred a surge in scientific research on earthquakes. Scientists from across the country flocked to San Francisco to study the aftermath of the earthquake. They mapped the fault lines, analyzed the seismic waves, and studied the patterns of damage. Their findings led to major advancements in our understanding of earthquakes, including the development of the theory of elastic rebound, which explains how earthquakes are caused by the build-up and release of stress along fault lines. The 1906 earthquake also led to the establishment of the California Seismological Network, a network of seismographs that monitor seismic activity across the state. Section 11. Remembering 1906, a city's strength. Today, San Francisco stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The city has not forgotten the lessons of 1906. The anniversary of the earthquake and fire is commemorated each year with solemn remembrance ceremonies and educational events. The city has embraced its seismic legacy, using it as an opportunity to educate residents and visitors about earthquake preparedness and the importance of building safety. Museums and historical sites throughout the city offer glimpses into the events of 1906, preserving the memory of the disaster and honoring the courage and resilience of those who rebuilt the city. The legacy of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and fire extends far beyond the city's borders. It serves as a reminder of the awesome power of nature and the importance of preparedness.